Even though his family was in North Carolina for multiple weeks, it appeared that he was still living in the basement.
Off of
Would
that.
you mind if we got his photos that he sent to you?
Oh, well, they'll be in that text message thing.
So all his photos were sent. There was no apps or anything else you used that you guys were sending.
No.
It was all just text messages.
Yeah.
Okay. So it'd be an attachment to a text that he sent you.
Pretty much.
But
everything is in the text and the phone call records.
So
like all of it.
Because we don't have it on tape, we discussed prior to turning the tape on Tuesday, which would have been the 14th of August. You had read some newspaper articles on the 13th and the 14th that regarded this case. You had also had a conversation with Chris at some point during the day on Monday. And on Tuesday, because of what you found, specifically what you said was, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but you found out that his wife was pregnant.
Yes.
And you did not know that prior.
No.
And you found that out via the newspaper articles, and that caused you concern.
Well, I just realized that he was lying to me, and I was like, well, if you can lie to me about this, what else are you lying to me about? And it made me realize that maybe his wife was in danger at that point, and it was day 2, too, and she still wasn't home.
What did that cause you to do with your phone, though?
Oh, what, when I deleted those? I was just kind of grossed out by him, to be honest with you. I was just like, I don't know what's going on right now, but you just lied to me, and I don't want to see this come over my phone anymore. So I removed it.
So you already said, but you removed text messages?
I deleted all of his stuff because he lied to me. I mean, that's what it was. It was the hurt that made me delete it, and then it was the lie that made me start questioning everything else he'd been telling me for the last few days.
And that's when you decided to come forward?
Yes.
Okay. So just for context,
yes.
When people delete stuff off phones, usually we go, hold on a second.
No. It wasn't malicious at all. It wasn't malicious at all. He lied to me. It just hurt. Like, I had never felt like he'd ever lied to me before. And it was a big lie. I mean, telling somebody that you're in the midst of a divorce and then you have a wife that has a 15-week-old baby on the way is a huge thing, and I was very taken back, and it was hurt. And so at that point, I deleted it. I had a few more quick things to say to him, and then I just got rid of him. That's literally what I did. I just cut him out of my life. It would have honestly been like a bad breakup kind of thing. Like, if none of this other stuff would have happened, that's what it would have been. That would have been the end of it.
The information was not destroyed because there was anything in there that would be harmful to you or potentially to Chris at this point, but harmful to you in particular. That's not what you did.
No.
You did it out of, excuse my language, this guy's an asshole, so I'm getting rid of him, and I'm getting this stuff off my phone.
That was like me kicking him out of my life.
Okay.
And then, like I said, and then realizing that he lied, that was when I was like, okay, maybe his family is in danger, and they're not coming back, and they're not staying with a friend.
Yeah, when did I go over there? Tuesday morning?
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday.
I called you Wednesday morning.
That's when we started discussing you guys need to get everything that I just...
You can understand the importance of...
Oh, no question. We were...
Like I said, people lie, phone records don't, and they really help specifically establish dates and times.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a very good grip on that in this case already, but there may be a time when we go, we need to know something else, and then we would have it. We don't want to lose it, and that's really what it is for us, is if we lose information that later on we go, man, I wish we would have got that. And we may never even use these. We may never even look at them, but if we have it now, then we don't worry about losing it. So I appreciate you being cooperative and giving it to us.
Yeah. So
the first thing I wrote was text messages between Chris Watts and attachments. Okay, so because we're talking about the photographs, unfortunately, that cause you much disdain. And then I am going to put phone log for calls between yourself. And this right now is located we're at the Thornton Police Department. It's going to be moved to my So this is kind of, doesn't make sense, but we're here. It's going to be moved to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. He's going to download it here, but I'm going to take it with me, just so you know. It's not staying here.
Okay.
They're not going to retain any of this. This comes with me.
Okay.
Okay?
Is there anything else you want on there? I think that's about...
That's it. I mean, I don't have social media. I don't really have anything else you guys can pull.
Okay.
Is there anything else you know of that could help us with this that is not on this sheet?
As far as, like, data?
That's on your phone?
No. I mean, everything we did was, like, text and talk, pretty much. I mean, and like I said, any pictures that I had, like, even if you were to restore all my regular photos, there's so many pictures in there, and you wouldn't even know which ones were for him and which ones weren't. But any picture that I wanted to send to him, I sent via text, so if you guys go through the text and the attachments, you will have everything that wasn't said verbally and was done via text. But I think that's it. Like, I don't have anything else. As far as, like, no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter, no LinkedIn, like, none of it. So, there was never any of that kind of correspondence. So I think that should probably cover everything you guys will need.
Is there any particular messages that would help me so I don't have to look at? Because whatever's on your phone, I don't know how long we're going to get back to, but let's say is there a particular date or time or message that stands out to you that would be relative to, specifically to the investigation into this case, that might assist me in understanding why something like this could have occurred?
I'm still in shock that this whole thing happened. Like, that's why I gave him the benefit of the doubt for the first day, because I was just like, no way. Like, I didn't even think about that. I mean, murder was not on the top of my mind when somebody doesn't come home for an evening, especially if they just, like, had some sort of, like, heated conversation. It's like, okay, you guys are separating, you have a heated conversation, you leave for a night. Like, I didn't even think this guy killed his wife. I mean, that like, murder is on something on the top of my mind when I call one of my friends for 3 or 4 hours and she doesn't answer the phone. Like, that doesn't even process to me as, like, a real thing that is a possibility at that point. And so that's why I gave it a day, and then the second day I was talking to him, he was just, like, a hot mess, I could tell. And then with, like, the way he was talking to me, and then that's kind of when I cut him off and I stopped talking to him. And then,
so remember what you just said, and we're going to get to that because that's probably a very important conversation.
So if you want to know days, I would probably honestly just start at, like, Sunday and work your way forward. I mean, all the rest of that stuff, it's just like the small talk of, like, hey, this, you know? I mean,
and your relationship building through the 6
yeah, I mean, like, and if you go, like, maybe, like, a week further back, like, there's times, like, I was trying to help him find an apartment, like, just for him, not for me, but for him and his kids, to get set up. And, like, there's times where I'm like, well, where's your wife moving to? Like, how close is she gonna be to you? You should be within, like, 30 minutes of your kids, so they're close. And, like, you want to be close to their school and close to your gym. And, like, what's your price range? Like, I was helping him get all of this stuff set up, and it was, like, in a very decent manner. And I don't know if all of that is in text. Some of it's probably on the phone. Like, at this point, I've talked to him so much that I don't even know which parts are, like, verbalized and which parts are texted at this point, but we can figure it out.
Okay. You see what I wrote? Text messages between Chris Watts and attachments, and then the phone logs for calls between your phone number and Chris Watts. Those are the two things that we'll ask to be extracted from your phone. So if you're okay with that.
Why does it say items removed? Cell phone data. Isn't that this?
That is that, and that's what he's going to remove, and then that officer is going to fill that out.
Gotcha. What is the date? I don't even know what
Today is the 16th.
Yeah, I flew out there, and I thought I had, like, convinced him to, like, try to make peace with her. And I was like, if you guys work on this, like, I'm out. Because what's the point? Like, I'm not trying to be with somebody that's in another relationship, which I know that sounds silly given the whole relationship that we had in the first place, but I really was under the impression that they were separating. I mean, it was, like, reiterated to me so many times that that's what I thought it was. And it made sense to me, too, because, like, he could pretty much call me whenever he wanted. Like, I was the one that would tell him, like, hey, when your kids are awake, you need to spend time with your kids. Like, do that. And And then after they go to bed, like, if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. But it was never like this super, super restricted thing. Like, sometimes, like, right after work, if I was, like, still talking to him, I'd get kind of bummed out. And I tell him, just like, oh, it's frustrating sometimes, like, having to, like, wait. But at the same time, I was never like, this is horrible, or, it was always like, I understood why. But then once his kids were asleep, he never, like, had any... It was like he could do what he wanted. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
He was in his basement, and she's upstairs, and they're not speaking. So it kind of made sense. It wasn't like...
And you guys are
sneaky
just
at night.
texting and...
Or talking or whatever, I mean, and it was like I said, it was at certain times, but that time, and originally it wasn't, but it was me that put that time frame on there because I thought he should hang out with his kids.
Those 2 times you were at his house, did you see any evidence of that? Him living in the basement? Did he ever show you that area or anything?
I've seen it, yeah. I went down there and saw his little workout equipment, and there's a bed down there all set up, and the basement was all clean and organized and stuff, so... like a decent bed set up, so it made sense to me, like, hey, this is what's happening down here. So I saw it.
Even though his family was in North Carolina for multiple weeks, it appeared that he was still living in the basement.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he told me sometimes he would, like, go upstairs and sleep if like, he was home alone, because I know she'd, like, go on business trips and stuff, but he's like, I don't like that bed anyway, so he didn't really, like, sleep up there. I was like, okay. Even when it was just him. So that was the impression that I got. I don't know what we were talking about. North Carolina.
Go back to North Carolina.
So, North Carolina. So he still made very frequent communication with me when he was out there. And at one point he told me that they sat down and they talked about it, and he told her that he wanted to either fix things or... like, to try to fix things, and if she didn't want to fix them, then they needed to, like, move forward with the separation and, like, actually file for a divorce at this point, was the impression that I got from this, and was what he told me. And so, he said that she was, like, pretty receptive to just not trying. He was like, she seemed like she just wants me to go. He's like, when she has her mind made up, she has her mind made up, and that's what she wants. And he's like, she doesn't want to try anymore. And he's like, and neither do I really. And he was like, it's done. And he's like, and then the next day, I don't even know what days these were. Sometime when he was out there, he told me, we're putting the house up for sale as soon as we get back. And I was like, well, that was quick. And he was like, it's her. She's ready to go. And I was like, okay. And so I left it at that. And then, he got back, and I started asking him, like, what are you going to do? Because the Colorado housing market is fire, and you guys are going to sell this house, like, real fast. And I'm like, you need to start looking for a new place to live. And I'm like, where do you want to live? And I was really trying to help him out. I'm like, do you want to get a house? Do you want 3 bedrooms, so you have one and each of your girls have one? I'm like, do you want to... like, do an apartment? Like, what do you want? Where do you want to live? Because he's in Frederick, but that whole area over there is just like a bunch of small towns, and you can kind of just pick and choose. Everything's kind of, and so he told me, well, I like Brighton, and I was like, okay. And then he told me he wanted a 2-bedroom apartment, and he said he wanted 1 room for him, and the other room for his 2 girls. And I thought it was kind of cute. Like, I remember telling him, I was like, yeah, me and my sister had bunk beds, like, at my dad's house. And I was like, when we were little girls, and me and my sister were the same age apart as him and as his 2 daughters, So I told him, I was like, they're going to love it. I was like, they might be, like, stuck in 1 room together. I was like, but they'll become, like, best buddies. And it was really exciting. Like, I liked helping him, and I just wanted him to, like, I don't know. This is what he told me he wanted. So I was like, well, I will help you do the research. But another thing that I really took care of was to be like, where is she moving to? I was never like, you know what, screw your wife, try to get full custody. None of that bullshit. It was always just like, I'd ask him, I'm like, well, what kind of custody are you guys going to have? Because he at work, they're about to switch his schedule. So right now he's like on Monday through Friday, and they're about to switch these guys to 8 days on, 6 days off.
That's tough.
That's awesome. I was asking him, I was like, are you gonna have your kids like on that set of days off? I was like, because that would work perfect, like 1 week on, 1 week off. And I was just like, we just talked about it. And I'm like, what is your plan? And he's like, we haven't figured out exactly what we're going to do about the kids yet, but he told me, he's like, Colorado's a 50-50 state, and she's okay with everything 50-50. Like, he said that she was, like, on board with this because she wanted it too. Like, she was checked out of this relationship. So that was, like, how he made this sound, that it was, like, a very, like, kosher, we're done kind of thing.
Did you ever give him, like, books or articles or anything to read about saving your marriage? Did you ever provide anything to him like that?
About saving his marriage?
Yeah, like how to recover a marriage or how to save your marriage. There's all sorts of publications and books out there.
No, but I did tell him, and I don't know if I did this through text or phone. That will be something you guys will, I'm sure, figure out. But I told him a few times, like, I think that you should take the time to read some articles about what separation does to kids. And I told him, I said, when my parents separated, we were literally like 3 and 5. We were almost the exact same age as these little girls. And I told him, I said,